Good morning.
Good morning.
I saw that yawn. Have you had breakfast yet?
No,
Class first and then breakfast? I'm not used to seeing you in the morning. It's kind of fun. I can say, hi, Archie. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen with you. We are going to finish chapter 10 today in the Magic Tree House, Midnight on the Moon. Okay, does that look familiar?
yeah,
Okay. So they're talking to Morgan. Jack and Annie are talking to Morgan. And they just got back to Pennsylvania, right? And they want to know if Morgan can stay in Frog Creek, right? They say in Frog Creek. And she says, no, I must leave again, I'm afraid, said Morgan. I've been gone from Camelot for a long time. She handed Jack his pack. She brushed his cheek. Her hand felt soft and cool. A bit of moon dust still on you, she said. Thank you, Jack, for your great love of knowledge. You're welcome, said Jack. Morgan tugged on one of Annie's braids. And thank you, Annie, for your belief in the impossible. You're welcome, said Annie. That kind of shows us a difference right there between Jack and Annie, right? Boy, I have a lot of, my colors changed. Let's see, she says Jack has a great love of knowledge, and she says Annie has a belief in the impossible. And then Morgan said, go home now, said Morgan. Oh, maybe they're not. Have they arrived back yet?
no,
Yeah, they are. They're back on Earth. But they're in their tree house, and she says go back to their house. He says, go home now, said Morgan. Jack smiled. Home was Earth, that bright, colorful world where everything was alive and always changing. Bye, Morgan, said Annie. She started out of the treehouse. Jack looked back at Morgan. Will you come back soon? He said. Anything can happen, said Morgan. The universe is filled with wonders, isn't it, Jack? He smiled and nodded. Go now, Morgan said softly. Jack followed Annie down the rope ladder. He stepped onto the ground. The wind started to blow. A tree started to shake. A loud roar filled Jack's ears. He squeezed his eyes shut. He covered his ears. Then everything was silent and still. Jack opened his eyes. The ladder was gone. The ladder was gone. He looked through the leaves and branches of the giant oak tree. Where the treehouse had been was only moonlight now. Oh, the whole treehouse disappeared. Bye, Morgan, he whispered sadly. Bye, Peanut, said Annie. That Peanut had been their companion on the last 4 adventures, right? Jack and Annie stared at the top of the tree for a long moment. Ready? Said Annie. Jack nodded. They started for home. The midnight air felt cool and moist. It was filled with the soft sounds of earth life. Jack and Annie left the Frog Creek woods. They started down their street. Annie glanced up at the sky. The moon looks really far away, doesn't it? It did, thought Jack. It was. I wonder how the moon man can be up there all alone, said Annie. What do you mean, said Jack. I mean, who helps him put on his spacesuit, said Annie. Who helps him get up when he falls down? And who is he? Added Jack. Who do you think he was? Said Annie. He must be a scientist or an astronaut from Earth, said Jack. No, I think he's an alien, said Annie, from another galaxy. Jack scoffed. Remember, scoffed is a way of talking when you're kind of laughing at the other person. You're making fun of them a little bit. He says, what makes you say that? I just feel it, said Annie. Wrong, said Jack. There's no proof that aliens exist. Maybe not now, said Annie, but don't forget, we were in the future. Oh, brother, said Jack. They crossed their yard and climbed their
rope ladder.
Their back steps. Annie tiptoed inside the house. Jack followed her. Before he shut the door, he glanced up at the moon. Remember, glanced is when we look at something really quickly. Was Annie right? He wondered. Could the moon man have come from another galaxy? Morgan's words came back to him. So here's some italics, but these italics are not words we're going to stretch out. Okay, this is just him remembering something that Morgan had said before. The universe is filled with wonders, isn't it, Jack? Good night, Moon Man, Jack whispered. Then he closed the door. So that was a fun story. Here we see a picture of the book. That was a fun story about Jack and Annie's adventure to the moon in the future. Figuring out the setting of this story was tricky because we know where it was on the moon, but knowing when it happened was tricky because it was in the future. And then when you're having a story in the future, their past can still be our future. So that was kind of interesting.